welcome everybody. This is Evelyne Brink here, and in this episode of Stand Out, I'm going to be talking to the international man of mysteries, Mr. Lars Friedrich, an executive from my home country, Germany. And just to make it fun, we're going to record the whole session in German, so you will have to rely on the energy that you're going to be transmitted. I'm kidding. We're going to speak in English, but I'm really excited that Lars is from Germany as well, because you'll find there's some like quirky little things that we might have in common, including saying yeah in between things. So welcome everyone, and especially welcome to you, Lars. I just called you an international man of mysteries because that's what you called yourself to me. And there's a part of me that kind of wants to lay out your whole journey and why I think you're so amazing and interesting to talk to. But another part of me says, why don't you just hand it over to Lars, and maybe you could give us a brief description of who you are as a coach, who you are as a person, and then we'll dive in and find out all the fantastic juice and interesting stuff about life, reinventing yourself, and how to be an absolutely fantastic coach. Full stop. Over to you. Let us know who you are, Lars. I'm so excited.
Well, thank you very much, Evelyne. And thank you for a very kind introduction. And I'm German. I am indeed German, but I have to say, I am made in Germany, but improved around the world. So I'm back in Germany at the moment, have been around in other countries, lived in other countries, worked in other countries. And my clients, this is the later bit when we're talking about coaching, are mainly outside of Germany. And so English is my main professional language, which makes this interview probably much easier for everybody who listens. So welcome to everybody who's going to listen to this kind of recording, to this interview. And I hope, or we both hope actually, that you can get loads of information out of it, some inspiration hopefully, and and that we're going to make you smile with our very unique German humor that is not existing at all, as you will experience in the end. Full stop from my point of view. So let me just give you a quick introduction so you know who I am, what I've done so far, my professional background, etc. Born in Germany and raised in Germany, then did the Abitur, which is high school. Pardon me, sorry?
A-levels in England.
A-levels, right. High school A-levels, sorry. It's called A-levels. That's what it's called. And then directly went to the military as an officer cadet and spent 12 years in the military, being in active duty during that time. Have traveled the world, as I describe it. So being in different countries for the sake of, what should I say at this point?
What do you call that?
Yeah, you have to go, as it's your job as a military personnel. And I got to know loads about different levels of leadership, which is quite important for my later development, but got to know loads about the idea of serving as well, and serving in different environments with different kind of missions, and serving from a completely different perspective.
Actually, this will be really interesting to talk about the word service and the attitude of serving.
Yes.
In the perspective of what you learned in the military. As you were saying that, I thought, well, I learned about serving as a waitress, which is a different kind of serving altogether. And here we are in the coaching profession, where it's really a profession of serving. It might be that we're using the same word in very different ways. So I'll be really curious to hear a little bit more about that later.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think it's very important as well, because I put always the serving bit as a kind of red thread in my professional and private development. And it took me years to really realize what it's about. So to find my own red thread.
Sorry, this is funny for me because I'm German, so I pick up on these things as well. When you say red thread, you mean thread as in with a D?
Exactly. Not with thread. Not always Not with a T, with a D.
Okay, just to clear that up for our non-German
Yeah.
speakers. We get it, all right?
We both get it.
You get it. Over to you.
Yeah. So after I left military, I started as a manager, first in the publishing industry, so with newspapers, magazines, all this kind of stuff. Not in the journalism bit, but in the kind of marketing, economic bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got an educational background as I've got diploma in how it's called in English, economics. And later, beginning of the 2000s, I studied for 2 years at Oxford in UK and did my executive MBA. So that was just an add-on. I felt it was necessary for my personal development, but was of course, in business administration, economics and organization as well. So very.
When did you get to study economics when you were in the military? Was that parallel or?
No, it was before I left the military. It's actually part of the package. So as a package officer, and we have kind of own universities, which allows you to kind of study in normal civil subjects, so to say.
Got it. Cool.
Unless you're not a kind of full professional officer who's going to do this until the end of his life. They say, we give you this additional add-on. So when you leave the army, you've got a kind of academic degree as well, which will allow you to kind of have a kind of better start in the civil life, which is quite important, I think. But for me, it was just a nice add-on. It wasn't my main intention when I started with becoming an officer. It was just, that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of, headed into my first crisis. So that was when my professional background had a slight interruption because I got very sick due to a virus I had in my nervous system. That virus in my nervous system led to me getting completely paralyzed and ending up in a wheelchair. So I wasn't able to use my hands up to elbows anymore. When I say to use, I really mean to use and to move them because the nerves were attacked. Exactly. So you just have to imagine you can't do anything anymore. So what I just do now is an ability to kind of really control your nerves. Wow. And you can't do that anymore. The only thing you really do is you work with the structure, with your bones, because the nerves stimulate actually the muscles as well. So you're getting quite stiff and quite helpless. So, and the same thing happened with my legs as well. It first started as a tingling in my feet and then went up to above the knee. Nice. So I wasn't able to walk anymore in the normal way. I walked with crutches. It was the first level. Second level was I was using a wheelchair. And the last level was I was really crawling around like a baby.
No way.
Yeah, and small things, minor things like entering a shower, just having to kind of overcome little steps, was a nightmare. And
still eat yourself? I mean, because
yes, you just do it as I just kind of showed it a little bit. Kind of you can't hold it firmly anymore. Mm-hmm. You literally use your bones to kind of cut and do all these kind of things.
Wow. And how long did that go on for?
I call it always the kind of disease-free fall for 3 months, and was told by the doctors, I mean, there were kind of 3 or 4 specialists that told me, well, that's what it is. You're going to stay like this. And this is, this is what it is. And that was the moment when I looked at them and just told them, well, the problem is you don't know me, but this is not what is going to happen. And when I started to do my own research, or something inside of me changed. I mean, the bit of we will talk about serving later probably, but the officer bit really took over, the survival skills and all this kind of stuff. And deep inside of me was a feeling of, well, this is not going to happen, full stop. And there was no if, there was no but, there was nothing, there was not even fear, but I was really I was really taken by a kind of big arrogance, even like saying like a blind arrogance, like I know it's not happening, I'm closing my eyes. But it wasn't really like this. It was a deep knowledge that this is simply not what is, how my life is supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, I recognize that.
So I put loads of effort, research, and I got into kind of different therapies, and the free fall stopped. As I just said, it stopped really literally over the elbow and over the knee. And it then took me 3 years to completely recover with loads of different training and all this kind of stuff. I did 2 times rehab, and it worked. Yeah, I looked for different therapies, and what happened in the end was I stopped the virus. The virus was killed, but had to completely redevelop parallel nervous system.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, so it's not incredible if you just understand how fantastic the body is, what the body can do. When you think about regeneration, I mean, we know it. Growing hair, growing nails. This is just the kind of regeneration we see. But this is happening every day in our body. Cells are regenerating. And you just have to kind of find somebody who helps you to kind of kickstart the regeneration. I said it took me 3 years because it takes so long for nerves to grow. So the cells of the nerves are the slowest things to grow. That's what it is. Somebody told me later.
Yeah.
So I had to relearn writing, and it was quite funny because when I relearned writing, I wasn't able in the beginning when I had to sign, I wasn't able to sign, of course. And it was always funny when you had to explain why you can't sign your name anymore, or when you kind of do your signature, that it looks different than it looked on the other kind of documents before. So what I did in the end, I remember how many hours I spent during rehab, really kind of copying to write my signature. So I was able to do signatures again in the way I did it before. So that changed. That changed as well. Yeah, the way I sign documents or my handwriting changed completely. So whenever you want to kind of relearn something, it might be fun. So that's just the part of getting out of the or hitting really rock bottom and getting yourself out of it.
Yeah.
This was
This is an extreme version of it for sure. And as I was listening to you, I thought, it's interesting how we can go through our day with our head full of worries and questions and, oh, do I really have to do this? Oh, do I really have to fill out these documents for this government thing? Or do I have to really do my admin and my books? Like, we all fill our heads with different kind of concerns. And your concern at the time was, how do I write my name so it looks like it did before? Like, it's so basic. We take it for granted. Well, just write my name. That was taken away from you. Such a elementary thing.
Yeah.
Actually, I wonder how did you work with that on your psyche? Because I can see multiple possibilities for that affecting you or you affecting it. Did you have times where you thought, if I can't even do that? I mean, were there times where you put yourself down with that and started doubting? Or were you always on top of it and going, well, here I am and I'm just learning this?
No, I mean, I was doubting when it's this kind of free fall and you're surrounded by so-called specialists who can't do anything, who just come with kind of wise words, always tell you about their research, and you realize, well, they don't know anything really about what is going to happen to you. And they wanted to kind of put you through more tests and tests and tests and don't help you, right? And it's this kind of inner child inside you that kind of starts to yell, like saying like, well, I'm hurt, or it's aching. Why can't anybody help me? Like, as I just said, like a little child. It stopped the moment they really got me the diagnosis and said to me, well, this is it, and you're going to degenerate even more because we don't know what to do, and you're going to end up in a wheelchair. This is a moment when it really kicked in, and when I just said, as I explained before, I said, no, definitely not. It just felt so wrong. This is what you really say in English. It feels so wrong, and it felt so wrong. It didn't make any sense, not in a kind of, in a logical way, yeah, even approach from a logic point of view, but the heart level, the feeling level was really like, no, sorry, it doesn't feel right. And whatever you're telling me and how intelligent or whatever you are, it's for me, it's like, well, whatever.
So there's a really interesting point here, which I think will be very useful for anyone in this profession, is to understand in terms of human behavior, the shift that occurred within you when you had a diagnosis. Because often we speak about we shouldn't label, like, keep things fluid, keep it open. But it's interesting, as soon as you had a label, a diagnosis, this is how it is, a fixed point, a wall, you could hit it properly and go, no, and then bounce back the other way. Whereas the whole way where it was open, it's kind of more, it's interesting. It's easy to get sucked into that world, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you had that, it was a poof, no, I will go.
Right.
I have a smaller story, but a smaller version of that, but I've still found it curious, which is that for over 2 years, I've had very strong dental pains, and I kept going to the dentist, and they keep saying they can't help me. There's nothing wrong with my teeth. They send me to the hospital. The hospital eventually sends me to the more specialist department because I tell them I can't drink water, normal room temperature water. At some points I will scream out in pain. So they're checking. And at some point, some top specialist says, well, we think you have what's called something, I forgot the whole word, something facial pain, and it can give a big name, and a prescription that says this will never go away. It will just come when it comes. It will go different teeth. It will move around, and you will live with this. Now you have to learn how to live with pain and how to manage pain. Do breathing, do relaxation, do all the things that Miss Evelyne Brink is actually professionally trained on. I was like, and I read it. I went, what the hell? And something went, no, just like with you.
Yeah.
And Lars, I have not had my tooth pain since.
Yeah.
Gone. This is years ago. It's gone from that day. So similar incident where there was a wall, there's a certain, this is how it is, and then I could bounce off it mentally, and it was gone and dealt with.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering here in the context of coaching and working with people, I mean, do you know more about it? What is it about having something fixed that allows us to go concrete and make a change?
Yeah. It's a thing, as you just said, it's a trick of the mind. As long as we allow ourselves to kind of float in the unknown, so to say, we're not able to grab it. And our mind, it's a kind of part of the decision-making process. It's part of the self-programming, as you would call it, or part of the, what's the word in English? Yeah, no, I'm just looking for the word generally. I will come back to that actually, but it has got to do with the ability of the brain to really to adapt to every situation, to even repair itself. So to completely generate new kind of links in the brain. For me, as I just said, it was a pure no. And due to background, there's another part I'm going to tell you in a few minutes. It was a simple no. So it was definitely the military that brought me these kind of experiences of being physically and mentally completely done, not able to proceed, but having been pushed over that edge for so many times during my active duty. I knew my boundaries and know that even if there are boundaries, there aren't any boundaries.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, which is of course not very healthy. So yeah, you shouldn't push it too far, but you can do it in extreme situations. We know it from people who really have to fight for their life, who coming into a danger, have to escape from fire, accidents or whatever, what kind of power they can generate suddenly. And the truth is, it's all inside of us all the time, but we never kind of really use this ability. And I think when we have, when the point comes when we going to be when we forced into a corner, and we have to kind of use the strength to survive. If we allow our brain to say, okay, this is this is it, right? Now we kind of pulling a switch, and when the switch is pulled in your brain, you say no, yeah, this is it. You really kind of become Hulk, yeah. You hit your head, you become Hulk, the green nice guy, and say, no, I'm going to show you what it's really about.
Yeah. Oh.
And with me, as I just can say, definitely the background of military, and on the other hand, I'm in martial arts, Japanese martial arts, since I'm 14 or 15. So that background of discipline and kind of being introduced into a world where impossible is a word they don't accept either. So neither in terms of the spiritual capability, nor in the sense of physical abilities. I mean, we know it from the Chinese Shaolin monks. You see these incredible things these guys can do with their bodies. And
Can you
so
give
the
me an
Japan.
example? Because I'm not that familiar.
Pardon me.
Can you give me an example? It's not something that's.
Oh yeah, they don't feel really. Obviously, they don't feel pain, or pain is not a signal that's really transmitted in their brain, so they can withstand kind of being hit with iron kind of sticks, and iron sticks break, and you can use bricks on their head, and they break bricks on their head, and all these kind of stuff. So they bend the reality of the physical world, which, when you understand how it works, is, again, it's just how we perceive the physical world. And if you just think about all the kind of boundaries that we build as human beings, or we as human beings say they are boundaries, well, is this reality or is this not reality? Who knows? Yeah, I'm quite sure that most of the boundaries that we are that we kind of think they're existing are really just man-made for whatever reasons. Because nature shows us every day that really, literally, nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And I just chose my words wisely here. I'm just saying nothing is impossible. I'm not saying that everything is possible.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So I just
distinction as well, right?
Exactly.
We don't want to be foolish with this kind of stuff. There's some serious magic.
Absolutely.
That the reality isn't as fixed as it may look like, but
Exactly.
it's also really important to pay attention to all this the small print.
Exactly.
In between, or we become stupid. I mean, people do stupid things going, it's not even real, I can just breathe underwater because I decide to do this, and like, that doesn't always go terribly well, right?
Not always.
No. Yeah, so it's good to have a good instruction and really be detailed with this, rather than yes, it's just how it is.
Yeah.
There was another point actually that really got my attention, and I love this conversation about boundaries. Obviously, my last name being Brink, I have put a lot of thought into what it means to be on the brink, on the edge, and there's something that's really close to home here. But you said that because of your background, you used to go over boundaries again, and then there was almost like a pullback from that. But it's also, and I forgot the word you mentioned, did you say exhausting? Or there was something that it's not healthy to do it too often. Do you remember what you said? I would love.
I said you have to realize that you can kind of cross boundaries, but you shouldn't do it too often.
Yes.
Because the energy it takes, you have to understand what, especially when it's about boundaries in your body, right? When you're feeling kind of being exhausted, it's a clear message, it's a clear warning of your body. Yeah, you should take care of yourself. Yeah, attention, like with the fuel in the car, when it says, well, it's almost empty, you should pay attention to the fact, because after that kind of signal, the next thing your car is doing, it's going to kind of stutter, and then suddenly it's going to stand still. And then the damage is done, depending on what kind of fuel if fuel you're using. So, and it's the same, I say, this is quite simply the same with the body. When the body is kind of giving you signals of boundaries, whatever it is, it's kind of psychological boundaries, uh, physical boundaries, or whatever. You have to recognize them. What you do with this kind of information, and a boundary for the body is as well pain. Pain is just a signal of the body that something is going wrong. And if you proceed doing that thing, it's going to damage your body infinitely. So you have to kind of pay attention to this, but you can always decide what to do with this information. So am I going on right now and then taking care of my body after that? But I have to achieve something, just for achieving something more, achieving something better, and as I just said, and then taking care of the body.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really important conversation for the high performers that we work with, right?
Yes.
And especially as coaches, do you feel we have a certain kind of responsibility to educate about this as well? Because
absolutely.
There is the motivational coaching that says, yes, you can do it, keep going. Like, I'm going to coach you into your optimal best. And you see people really going to high levels of performance and then crashing and burning because they haven't. It's like when you miss the train too many times.
Yeah.
It's burnout time.
Well, I think let's do a quick kind of talk about this, because I think, we should kind of go even deeper into this kind of point later. Okay. So it's a yes and no. So what I experience in my coaching, because I clients of mine are CEOs, so really high achievers, high performers, and it's exactly the opposite. So we will hear about my professional background as well. I know exactly where they are, and what I do is I take them back. I don't push them further. They don't need me to push them further because they're already so highly motivated. They're already so much to the point. They've all this discipline. And let's be honest, that's the reason why I only coach high performers, because they have commitment and discipline. These are not guys who not show up prepared for a coaching meeting. They invest money and their time, the most precious good they have, into their well-being, into their improvement. So they know what they're doing. It's not like, I just did it a little bit. Yeah, it's enough. I had enough coaching. They know exactly what they want. So what I do is exactly the opposite. I allow them to take them back, to not be highly efficient, highly proficient, highly upstaging themselves in every level of their life, saying like, well, now let's break it down. Let's have a look here. Let's stop. Let's breathe, right? Let's find a place for you where you can relax and really become you again. Yeah, this is not about the highly efficient CEO here. I'm not your employee. You don't have to show off here. I'm here really to serve you. We want to find out what can really get you to the next level of your success, because there is you won't get any higher. You're on a level already. You achieved so much already, but this is the end. If you don't find a different approach, if we together don't find a different approach, so I might suggest some kind of changes. You might kind of follow my lead, because I have to take leadership for you. So relax. Allow me to take leadership. Allow me to lead you. Allow yourself to be led by somebody else. And of course, you can always say, no, stop. Yeah, I want to be in charge again. But you're always in charge, because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just suggesting. I'm giving you the space to figure out if the lifestyle you had so far is going to lead to better results. But let's be honest, the moment you hired me, you just realized already something is not working right. So you are already willing to try something new, but not even try to really use it, apply it in your daily life. So you're already open to the suggestion.
What is the issue that the people actually come to you for?
Most of the time, it's like kind of, it's not really a burnout, but it's a kind of, they're looking for something, or they realize that there is something inside of them that has not been satisfied yet. And this can be a different level. So it can be love, it can be life itself, or it can be any kind of personal development in terms of feelings or a kind of project that is very close to their heart. And I had a client that was very, very successful in terms of his company and all this kind of stuff, was running very, very well. But he never chased the kind of really a heartfelt project, because he felt this is so crazy, this is so out of his normal world, so to say, that if he dares to step in the air, there's a big chance of failure. So he was afraid of failing in this thing that was very close to his heart, because this was a territory, or in English we have this kind of very nice sentence, the road less traveled, so to say. So it's almost as if you have to give him permission to go a different way. Not the roads that he used to go weren't leading to this kind of heartfelt thing that he wanted to do. And yeah, that's what it most of the time is. As I just said, it's different areas of life, but I think it's a feeling of being unfulfilled. There's something missing, and they're just trying to figure out what it really is and how to approach it. Yeah, at the most of the time, they approach me with saying like, well, this is like it is, and I've got a problem here, but the problem they're telling me in the end is not the main reason why they start to work with me. It's just the kind of thing that they figured out and it makes sense. So it all comes really kind of point of, from a logical point of view, and it makes sense, it's like this. But the real underlying issue that you really get when they allow you to really dive deeper, to get this kind of connection with you, when they allow you to serve them, as I just said, for high achievers, it's quite difficult to be served on that kind of deep level, because they have trust issues, of course, they have control issues. It's like, well, I'm a manager, I'm a CEO, I'm whatever, yeah, I know what to do, but we all from time to time like to, as I just said, we like other people to take the lead, yeah, just to get inspired probably.
And we need that as well, right? I mean, vulnerability is strength.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. So
I work with very different group of people with the
right
industry, where it's way more about getting all your ideas together and putting your sand in the stick, yeah, your stick in the sand at some point. But what was interesting about what you just said is that where both meet is that the issues people come to you with and issues people come to me with are very, very rarely really the issues that want to be resolved. That in fact, the things that are underlying, that are the things that we really can serve them with, are the things that they might not even be able to articulate yet.
Exactly. Yeah, I think so. I think it takes time. And I know that you're really a long time in business already. And it's always a kind of interesting ride. It's kind of discovery. I mean, I really like that this kind of curiosity to kind of to dig deeper and to realize, well, that doesn't sound right. And we're going to talk about it a little bit as well, like kind of what it means to do really kind of good coaching, fearless coaching, however you want to kind of name it. But for me personally, it's got to do with a kind of professional background, which allows me to understand where they're at in terms of their level, in terms of their responsibility, in terms of the pressure that is going on in their lives.
So how does your professional background allow you to see that?
Because having been a manager myself, I mean, we weren't there so far in my description. You were interrupted again. It doesn't matter, yeah.
Link towards that.
You see, we're not the German at all anymore. Yeah, we're not that strict anymore. We're starting to kind of going different ways. All roads lead to a goal, probably in the end. Anyway, it's definitely got to do with the professional background, because if you know, or if you experienced yourself the kind of pressure they're under, and yes, as you said, it's experience. It's like you know, like with good food, once you tasted food, once you know a taste of whatever, and somebody explains to you, well, I like this because it tastes good. You understand what they're talking about if you made this experience as well. You know what I mean? And it really helps. And in that domain, I personally think as well that coaching is very unique, and also is this kind of relationship between coach and client.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for every client, there's the corresponding coach. So what I just want to say is that probably sometimes the setup is not right. Yeah, you kind of getting presented clients where you just realize, well, I can't help him or her, and I don't want to, because I don't feel any connection. I can't connect personally. But what I find even more interesting, if you've got a gut feeling that we need as coaches, I think, is this kind of feeling of, I don't have the slightest idea what he or she is talking about. I mean, this is an extreme, this is the worst case, but it's a very honest, if you just think about it, it's a very honest response of your body as well. Mm. And I like this kind of feeling more when I kind of have my introductory kind of talks. And I've got this feeling like, well, Lars, you don't have an idea what it specifically means, but it's challenging, it's fun, and you feel there's something underlying, you can probably help him or her. And that's when I get really interested, when there's a story where I feel like I can make a difference. It challenges me, it inspires me, it's very important. I have this feeling, it's very quickly, within the kind of, you can say, first 1-2 minutes, I have a feeling if there's kind of a connection there, if I can go further, if I want to go further, which is very important to me. And and then comes all the additional bits of, can I really help them? Do I know all these bits and details already? And even if I realize, well, yeah, my background helps to this point, but then I'm completely getting into the blue, and it's really about what coaching is really about, to kind of ask the right questions, to help really to get the kind of connection developing, getting deeper, going deep, diving deep, and really figuring out how to proceed.
So what's just been coming up for me as you were talking is this whole conversation around coaching versus expertise.
Right.
Hearing you say it really helps from the expertise field, so that through that you can build a connection.
Yeah.
Then what you said is that actually the real coaching takes place in the blue, in the unknown. And that's a place where I don't actually have to understand what the client is on about.
Yeah.
Because this, coaching doesn't require me to know the answers. It requires me to have questions. And what you just beautifully said, the curiosity is the guide. So really the question for me would just be, am I curious about this person? Like, am I inspired to even ask questions? Or do I get that reaction?
Exactly. I mean, I don't know how you do it, but I denied working with some clients already, where I just realized it's not possible, and they approached me with a wrong vision.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm a visionary as well. I want kind of things to change, and I think like the kind of work that we do as coaches is we really make use of ripple effects. And I love the fact really that the clients I work with are high achievers. So these are the right people who can really create ripple effects and can make or can change, can make change happen. And I think it's fantastic. So for me, the clients can't be high enough, so to say, in their kind of, in the way they can really get things done, can work done. Because when these guys really create ripple effects, they have a much, how to say, it's bigger, it has more impact even. It's not a small circle, it's directly a big circle. It's a much bigger impact.
Sure.
I think it's
the higher you said you connect, the more influence you will have.
Exactly.
I actually have a question for you around how you then connect on that level, because the higher you connect to, higher levels you connect to, I hope I'm being clear. Do you ever get doubts in your own mind that they might be so high that, you know, will they look down on you, or how do you balance out that hierarchy in the mind?
I don't have it.
Aha.
I don't have it, but I, I mean, the fun bit is I've been brought up in hierarchy in terms of professional background, right? Being in the military, it's all about hierarchy. And this is the kind of part that I didn't mention before, but inside the hierarchy, I was in a unit that was outside the hierarchy. So what I learned that hierarchy is a thing when character and professionalism are not really priority. Because, should I say that again?
Yes, please. You just like,
Yeah, but I'm going to explain it as well, because it's a little bit of a minefield I'm getting myself into now, but I'm going to explain it. So yeah, I'm quite open to discussion. Yeah, so whoever feels now offended by what I say, yeah, I'm completely open to discussion. This is just my experience out of my professional background.
okay.
It's not true. It's probably not wrong. It's definitely not universal truth, but it's just how I experienced certain things and how I proceed with my life to this day, and even intending to go on. And why I just said, well, I don't have a feeling of somebody's being above me or being below me. It's a kind of thing that I really don't work with this kind of different boxes, so to say. Again, I just said, when you are actually in a kind of professional environment, where character and hierarchy are not the main keys of your working environment, but professional teamwork, which just means you're surrounded by specialists who kind of help you to improve the whole time. Does it make more sense?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter if you, whatever rank, if you're a man, if you're a woman, all this kind of gender stuff means nothing. Age stuff means nothing. And if you're thinking about gender, age, rank, yeah, these are all things we use in modern society, or education, diplomas, certification, etc. pp. All these are kind of outside little boxes we use for hierarchy.
Yeah.
Age is a hierarchy thing. We think like when people are older, yeah, they are higher, or when people are young, they're not able to lead. And it's always like, well, I disagree. Yeah, leaders should be the guys who have the most expertise in that kind of domain, especially in that moment of time.
Yeah. So
this is the guy who's supposed to lead, not the guy who's the oldest, yeah, but the guy who's got most of knowledge, especially for this kind of topic, for this situation.
So this reminds me, in a more civilian situation, of our excursion to the escape rooms. Do you know escape rooms?
Yes. Yeah, I know escape room.
With our 4PC community, we went to the escape rooms, and it was fascinating because so there's a group of coaches. We all know we're all high-level coaches, and yet, at least for me, there's always this, oh, okay, I know this person is a multi-six-figure coach, and this person is a almost seven-figure, and this was kind of more of a beginner. So there's immediately some hierarchy based on income that can come into the mind, or there is, oh, this person is more experienced, this person has a corporate background, and this person is a stay-at-home mom who just has coaching on the side. You know, there's all these things coming in. As soon as we enter the escape room, these things really didn't matter, because it was only the person that had the skill for that specific thing, and we didn't even know whether we had that skill before we tried, that then could take the lead. And it was a great experience.
Exactly.
Yeah. So is that comparable to what you just
absolutely said? Comparable. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you kind of described it in more civilian words. I'm a little bit blind on that eye, I have to admit. And yeah, that's what it is.
Perfect. Okay, great. So we're on the same page.
We're absolutely on the same page.
The wonderful thing is that because you've had that background and that experience in a very intense way,
yeah,
it sounds to me like you were really able to translate that into the corporate situation.
Yeah.
So there is no fear of, oh, they're higher than me, they're more experienced than me, they make more money than me. You just like, no, look, team, here, we're here to thrive, survive, you on.
Exactly. And lead when leadership is needed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we're talking about kind of what's the main difference between military and civil life? Well, it's, for me, having been in both worlds, it's quite easy to explain. In military, if you're on active duty in a real mission, your command, your leadership. Let me rephrase the sentence. Lives are depending in real time on your leadership.
Yeah.
Every decision that you are making, and it can have a kind of quite deadly outcome.
Yeah, you think?
Full
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So let's transfer it now to business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Business mainly is about, and that's what lots of people most of the time forget, it's mainly about making money. So everybody's crazy about making money. Let's be honest, in investment banking, I mean, if you really talk about making money in investment banking, if you kind of burn $1 million, it doesn't matter as long as you kind of make 3 million the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we so afraid of to make a decision in civil life? Because it's no life is depending on it. Having said that, that's what lots of people forget in the end, that actually loads of lives are depending on their decisions, but their kind of decision making never comes out of this kind of attitude. Thinking what kind of impact my decisions, when you kind of break it down, have in the end for a company. Yeah, they're just thinking for the kind of short term, midterm, what's the money making effect on my decision? From my understanding, having been brought up in a different background, it is more about the kind of the most important resource of a company. So listen, everybody, listen outside. Yeah, listen. Yeah, and again, attack me. Yeah, write me emails. It's okay, but I can explain why I say these things. The most important resource companies have are their employees, and employees are people. So if you want to succeed, if you want to be very, very, if you want to make more money, make sure that you treat your employees right and that the employees understand what the main goal is, what the idea of your company is.
Yeah.
And things going to work out. But what we see these days in industry and everything is about merging, putting together different company cultures, doing this kind of with intercultural links and all this kind of stuff. And most of the time it's not working out. Yeah, mergers after 2 years, one of the companies completely done, and it's completely, it's completely been shattered, has been sold, whatever. This is reality. Just one of these kind of issues. As I just said, I can completely understand where high achievers are at and what kind of stress level they're, or what stress they're under. Mm. But in the end, again, it doesn't matter. They're human beings as well. And it's all about leadership, taking responsibility, and kind of taking the pressure off that comes from above, and taking the pressure off that comes from below, and kind of balance it out. It's all about balance.
I love it. I love how you can then shift it back into the more team spirit approach of, I want to say, the survival thing.
Yeah, it is.
In the company as well. Like if we're not surviving, if we're not actually alive and not just surviving, but aliving.
Yeah, it's a good word. Yeah, aliving, right.
We're not aliving, well, you're not going to make money. You're not going to sustain. And then actually, you said no life depends on it, but livelihoods do.
Yeah, better word. Livelihoods is a better word. Absolutely, yeah.
So in civilian life, in company life, it's not the actual physical life, but it's the livelihood.
Yes.
And that very much does affect people's lives. So the decision making needs to take all that into consideration. And when we then just look at the money making, which you just said so beautifully, like just the short term and midterm money making direct goal, we might miss out the foundation that actually supports the whole structure.
Exactly. Yeah, and I can say that to add a little bit, because after I got out of the, how I call it, the the rock bottom time, I call it, right? So after I reinvented myself, I started in the medical industry, in the healthcare industry, and then just worked as a business development manager. So when I'm talking about companies, a healthy company structure, a healthy company goal, value, course, and all this kind of stuff, I think I know what I'm talking about, because when you're doing business development, these are actually this is a basis, this is the fundamentals that you need to build a company on. And when you really kind of start from the ground and have the kind of possibility to kind of say, okay, we're really kind of starting with the foundation of a company. We're founding a company. So what should the structure be? What is the aim of the company? What is the goal? How should be the kind of, you know what I mean? So building something up from the ground, so to say, yeah, you're the creator. You're not only the leader, but you're the creator of something new, of something better. This really gives you a very, very deep insight where things go wrong in the end, where things get corrupted in the end, where things, where all these kind of little wheels suddenly begin not to kind of turn that kind of smoothly anymore, where the first sand comes into these wheels and it begins to kind of creak a little bit, and it's not so smooth, and you feel like it's you know what I'm talking about. And it's quite interesting to see where subtle changes in structure, in leadership, in attitude, again, I'm coming back to the big topic of us as coaches of serving, can lead to improvements. You would say, like, well, it's almost unbelievable. It's unbelievable how little things, what a massive impact they can have on the well-being of a company, of the employees, of the leaders, and so on.
So now we've been quite structural in our conversation. I would love to turn it back into the personal and your journey as well.
Right.
Let me just take a breather here so I can recenter it that way as well. It seems to me that there's a certain magic in structure. Like when we can see what the structure of something is and make those changes, a lot can be shifted.
Yeah.
And then there's what I call the personal, is like what's inside the structure, where we as humans often get caught up in the drama, the whatever's going on for us, where we can't even see the structure. That's also very interesting to me. And what I'm often looking out for, what I'm fascinated by, what I'm filtering for, is power, personal power. And so what I would love to know from you, Lars, being a person that's obviously been in positions of outside power, of literal force, but also had to really hone personal power, and your decision to heal something that's incurable, to me, is just a bright example of personal power. Can you speak a bit about what being powerful means to you?
Okay, it's a very good question. I might have answered in a different way 3 years ago, when I was in the highest position of power in terms of my profession to that point. Where I was in business development manager, was building a twin company in UK. So where I lived in London, and everything ran quite smoothly. So I used power. Again, I'm in the past now. I used power. I abused power. I loved power. I got high on power. And now comes the big but. But it all had a big, it put a lot of pressure on me. And the only way to deal with the pressure was for me to unwind. There are different possibilities to unwind. I'm not into drugs. I never was. So that was not an option. So neither alcohol or whatever other options. But what I really loved is to kind of numb myself with overcompensating. So I loved buying stuff. I loved expensive holidays. I loved indulging myself. Yeah, that's a very nice English word, actually. Indulging myself. I love this word. So, but the indulgement was really to numb myself because I felt so lost, because I wasn't really able to do what I really wanted to do. Because I can explain what I mean. Because even as a manager, you're still an employee, as long as it's not your own company. Because as a manager, you're a manager, you're not CEO, right? And even as CEO, you're sometimes probably even an employee. So
and
you,
if the company is public, then you're liable to the
right? We don't have to talk about it. So the pressure is on. And I think if you want to really change things, and it was a kind of feeling that was very deep down inside of me, but that I couldn't, like my clients sometimes these days, that I wasn't able really to grab already. It was a kind of feeling of being uncomfortable, not being satisfied, having this kind of need to do something, but you don't know what it is. And I couldn't pinpoint at that time. And as I just said, my survival strategy was really to kind of numb myself with money, so to say. And power is a very nice thing if you really direct it towards the right things. I think if power is misused, we have loads of examples even today. What is going to happen in terms of countries, in terms of politicians, in terms of church, whatever, you know what I mean. Misused power always leads to disaster, always leads to pain. You're going to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And it's always the wrong people you're going to hurt. So with loads of power comes loads of responsibility. We know this sentence, but it's the truth. I don't know who really said it, but it doesn't matter. Anyway, I wasn't that powerful, but I already had a taste of it. And I personally couldn't deal with it because I wasn't able to use my power that I really generated to do the right things.
So that's the power that we talk about that can corrupt you. So it's
Yes.
the stream of energy.
Yes.
That when held, it's like you have this energy, you direct it somewhere, and then there's something that eats you up inside at the same time. So it disturbs the whole system.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is the reason why I think, especially I get a lot of clients. And that's what I said. It's interesting when you have this background and when you have a main understanding why this can happen, because you experience it as well. Then you've got already a kind of point where you can kind of, when you can kind of build the first kind of connection, so to say. You know what I mean? It's a first point of interest. It's a first point of connection.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, I'm absolutely sure, I don't know if you can prove it, whatever, but I'm absolutely sure that I can sometimes see it, because I get to know loads of guys personally as well, where you can see that they're not satisfied in their eyes.
Yeah.
It's about the energy, it's about the attitude, and it's just thinking like, your mask is nice, you're a very powerful person, but you're completely unhappy. You know what I mean? It's like there is something underlying, there are some issues, you're trying to kind of cover it, but I can see through all this bullshit. And it isn't exactly that kind of sentence. I see through all your bullshit. Isn't that really the kind of ability that we as coaches should have and that we should treasure? Because it kind of gives our clients freedom. If they, as I just said before as well, they can really relax. They can kind of let go and allow somebody to really kind of go deeper, to help them finding this underlying issue. Yeah, not the kind of points that they probably approach us with, but the kind of first point of contact, as I said before, but really then allowing us to dig deeper and discover together what is the main issue, what's really not working.
Absolutely. So now you did say that would have been your answer 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What's the answer now? What does it mean to be powerful?
To be powerful means, And that's the only definition for me at the moment, which might change as well with more experience. We don't know. So now it's powerful means to have the full, not control, because control, as we know, is an illusion, but the full responsibility over your own life.
Mm.
So for me as a coach, it means that I today choose with whom I work, which is a luxury, I know. But there was a kind of thing we want to talk about as well, kind of being visible, kind of how to attract clients, how to attract clients, how to kind of really create clients. That's a better word, I suppose. But attracting is attracting, creating. I think it's both a thing because it's a kind of attraction as well. I think we should attract clients as well. With what we say, with what we do. Walk your talk is a big thing. And I'm a big fan of kind of, be prepared and always show up prepared as well. Yeah. We were talking about high achievers. If you're kind of running around in your best sports gear and going to a kind of official party, the probability that they take you seriously as a kind of personal or business coach is not so big. You might become actually their personal trainer for personal fitness, but I doubt that would be the reason why they hire you in the first place.
So interesting, right? Because you would stand out. So in terms of visibility, thumbs up. But in terms of contextual achieving of goal, a thumbs down.
Right, yeah. And I know, I mean, sometimes it's fun, and I know loads of people who kind of do this kind of, I always call them a little bit like kind of rebels. But I mean, let's be honest, I mean, you were talking about kind of hierarchy and all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And with hierarchy, I forgot, of course, there are things like clothes as well. I mean, clothes, right? The right suit, the right tailor. Yeah, I mean, Savile Row. I mean, everybody who lives in London knows about Savile Row. Yeah, the right shoes, the right watch. And there are loads of things where people define a natural hierarchy as well.
Absolutely.
That's why I said, so when you want to approach some kind of clients, I think you first have to ask yourself, am I actually able to be in this kind of circle? So can I stay in that circle? Do I feel comfortable? So I'm still at the level, I'm on a different level, but I'm still on the level, what means power for you today, right? So the question is, do I have the power? Am I as powerful to show up in a circle that is probably not my circle? Do I feel comfortable being in that circle without being the rebellious outsider? And the underlying word is rebellious, because it can be nice to be a rebel, but I think some people take it too far in being the rebel, being the outsider, making a special appearance as being the dark duckling, so to say, the black duckling. You don't always need to be the outstanding person to be the most interesting person. It's more about power and the character. There's the character. Yeah. If you have a kind of natural power, some people call it charisma as well, as a word we use very often, then you're in the circle in any way. And with high achievers, yeah, it is about power, definitely. But in the end, it's not about the power. And if you kind of spend loads of time with high achievers, you realize they have a very high personal power. They even have the same power if you kind of talking to them in jeans and a sweatshirt, they still have the same power.
So that's the piece that I'm super interested in. If you took their job away, if you took their clothes away and their watch away, if we met in the sauna, are they still like
a German sauna or an English sauna?
A German sauna.
So really butt naked.
Totally butt naked.
Yeah. Sorry for everybody who's kind of seeing this right now. You should kind of turn off the volume, or shut off quickly. In Germany, we're doing it butt naked. So do the Finnish people, the Swedish people, and the Danish people, and the Norwegian as well.
Yeah, all the Nordic cultures, because you wouldn't want to just sweat into clothes. It makes no sense, people. You have a towel. Anyway, we can go into, like, I'm prepared for a whole culture. My dad keeps saying I should open a sauna and bring the sauna culture to England. And I'm like, leave me alone, father. So anyway, we digress. We're taking a so-called powerful person and into the German sauna, butt naked, no Rolex watch.
Who wears Rolex? It's a cheap brand.
Is it? Oh,
It
gosh.
is. Sorry.
Okay. What are we wearing?
What are we wearing or what I am wearing? I'm wearing nothing. I don't have a watch on me at the moment.
That high level that exactly. I'm beyond watches.
Okay, watches, it would be an automatic watch, handmade and automatic.
Okay, so we're taking that off and we're meeting them in the sauna. The personal power is what's really in the person.
It always is.
And
Always is.
what part is it? So you said it's about choosing, what did you say? Making your own decisions in life, choosing what you're doing. Is there anything else that defines like what makes it?
Own decisions and being, and time as well. And time as well. Being the person who decides about your time.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about power as well. If you think about very powerful people, they have a very tight time schedule because they're so wanted. And if they have the ability to make time whenever they want, that's what real power is about. Because they decide exactly who is going to take their time.
Mm.
And this is what it's about. And today I can honestly say, I've never been in my life so far in a more powerful position than today. Working as a full professional coach, being in full charge and full responsibility of my own time and with whom I want to spend it.
And now there comes a consciousness element because my mind goes, well, hang on a minute.
And it's the same with my clients.
Oh, sorry. I think we have a little time lapse. I said, now there is a consciousness element that comes in there because any unemployed person is also completely responsible for their time and can choose whoever they hang out in the pub with. And yet there's a huge difference between what we're saying and that situation.
No, they can't. If you just think about it, they can't because they have so many outside or external factors that already decide about their time. Let's just go to London. I mean, it's a kind of example that probably loads of people, or London corporate world, when you're working in London in the corporate world, the biggest issue they have is already to kind of the commuting. So while you're commuting, you're not in charge of your time already. And the commuting is just a kind of pre-part of getting you to work. So you're neither in charge of your time while you're actually on your way to work, nor while you're working. And it's even worse if you're kind of doing a 9 to 5. I mean, we know it's even worse, but if you're even in a management position, leadership position, you're still under this kind of external kind of factors. So no, you're not. And just by kind of saying, well, when I'm done with my work, I'm going to meet my mates in the pub. It's just an illusion that you're really in charge of your time. But there have been already loads of other factors during your day where your time was actually controlled by other external factors.
Yeah, I got that. And what about if people don't even have a job and there is full time? I guess the difference that I'm hearing is the awareness of how precious and valuable your time even is.
And what you do with your time.
Doing with it. So there's a real choice point in here as well.
And we were talking about power and powerful people. I mean, powerful people don't waste their time. Powerful people, as I got to know them, as I understand them, are always improving. And they love to improve on different levels. So they work on their bodies, they kind of keep their bodies healthy. They work on their brain, they work on their ability to learn. They're interested, they're curious, learning new things, challenging themselves. They have a very big kind of interest in kind of helping other people, doing charity work, having their own foundations, these kind of things. So they're really taking part in social life on so many different levels as well.
Yeah.
They're spending their time differently, and I personally think more efficiently for most of the time for greater good, if they're not corrupted.
The image that came into my head as you were saying that is the one of a tree that's always reaching out and growing more by also reaching down and growing more.
Rooting, the roots need to get stronger, that you can spread out and even kind of get bigger towards more unrealistic goals or visions or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, definitely.
And there's this whole thing of in nature, you know, you either grow or you die. So there's a real keep growing, keep growing, keep growing, which is a mentality that often in mediocre adult life gets kind of forgotten a bit. You know, we're busy parenting, we're busy surviving, we're busy working, we're busy doing our thing, paddling along, and then comes middle age, and then we get old.
Yeah.
What you're describing is a real active keep growing and active keeping developing and choosing what to do and who to be.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's very useful to look at it through the filter of time. So thank you for that. How are we?
Time is the most important. I can only stress it again. For my clients, time is the most important resource. Yeah, they pay so much money to get more time, which is a little bit like kind of, yeah. I mean, there's this English saying like kind of, how is it? Big on money, short on time. You know this kind of saying, or when you kind of turn it around, yeah. But that's often the case, yeah. You've got loads of money, no time is left, and you've got loads of time, but yeah, no money, so to say.
Really, really beautiful parable on time is, as I'm sure you know, as a fellow German countryman, is the story of Momo by Michael Ende.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah,
it's the most powerful story on time. It's originally written for children. It's one of these children's books that
exactly
is code for the most powerful story on time I have ever written.
Yeah.
So it's one that I like to give to my clients. In fact, it's actually touched me so much that we named our daughter Momo.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So, yeah, it's a beautiful one. Just to wrap this time story and time conversation into a bow, I would really like to lead this conversation back into service. And before we're wrapping this up, because we promised everyone that we were going to talk further about service and what serving means, especially from your, I'm going to say, unique perspective. Not that you're the only person that came through that background, but I think the mixture that you bring with that higher level military experience, plus the management, plus the illness that you had to go through, and the beating of the odds with your very strong decision making, has me very curious to hear you talk about what does service mean and what does serving mean. Yes, that question mark. Oh.
Question mark. Right.
Which one was I going to take? Question mark.
Question. These days, serving means to me is the most important thing to me, because I realized that it's part of my character. So it's something that's inside of me, or that was always inside of me, and it's a natural thing. It's a natural thing. I like to kind of help people. I've got this kind of, but I've not a helper syndrome, if you know what I mean.
So what's the difference between helping people and serving?
Serving is on a much deeper level, because with serving, helping people is like kind of, you do something actively for people, but that doesn't solve their problems. Serving just means you kind of do something passively or actively for people and with people, so that they get the capability, the ability to help themselves. So serving is higher, because serving helps people to help themselves.
I like that. And so when you were in the military, obviously we say we served, right? You say you
right.
served.
Service, yeah. It's military service, it's called.
Military service, okay. Yeah. How does that compare? Is that the same as military service, helping people?
Yeah. I mean, let's put aside all this kind of really bad things that are happening in the world, like wars and all this kind of stuff, right? But let's face it, if we don't put a kind of balancing power in terms of military power in this world, we would be overrun by people who would just think, well, I like this country, I want this country, I get this country. Which sounds quite very simple and very stupid, but in the end is what it is. Military most of the time works best when it's not actively used. But if it's just there, like a kind of standing an obvious threat, yeah, now with the other,
Now with the T.
now with the T, yeah, just the kind of idea that you can't overrun a country, that you can't really, overrun is a good word, yeah, helps to kind of keep a balance in the world. And we have this kind of thing in the world today in terms of the possession of nuclear warheads, which is a big thing. It makes everybody of us shiver, and I think most of people don't have even the slightest idea what it means and how unequally it's really balanced in the world. And just the idea of that some countries would get kind of nuclear power availability or nuclear warheads makes us completely like going, nuts. And we're thinking like, well, this is not allowed to happen, or this should never happen. What you say is that the idea of serving is helping others, that the situation never occurs, is a kind of idea of military as well. Sadly, these days, the military is used too many times for not, I would say, balancing kind of issues, but more for economical issues. Mm. If you look into modern warfare, and I don't want to go too deep into this kind of issue. If you look at most of the modern conflicts going back even the last 20 years, you realize that none, and let me repeat here, none of these conflicts was because of really political issues. And I don't even want to say because of terrorists or whatever was kind of put up as a main reason to invade, and let me kind of stress this out, invade a kind of country that didn't do anything wrong to that point. Yeah. But anyway, it was invaded. And when you look why it was invaded or what happened in the end, it was due to kind of economic reasons. Yeah. Somebody won in the end. It was not about another country won. It was about the economy of that specific country won. Because suddenly there are contractors there, rebuilding companies, mineral oil or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. So it's completely different. It's about resources. Wars these days are led because of resources. Yeah. So it's got nothing to do with service in the main kind of idea anymore, but because power, again, is corrupted these days.
So let's take this back to service and
serving. Yeah, military. The military service, when you kind of look at the military service, I mean, when I kind of started being military, when I wanted to be an officer, it was about the idea of serving. I loved the idea of serving. And in the end, it just came down. It came down. So when I kind of changed in the military structure, it was not about the kind of greater goal anymore. It wasn't about serving anymore. It was about kind of making sure that that all of my teammates stay healthy, that we get out of the situation healthy, that I bring everybody home. So I served just for the purpose of my team.
And now the personal question, what's in it for you when you're serving?
For me, a big, big satisfaction. And that I can see that can really make a difference. I personally, with my input, with all my experiences, personal experience, professional background, with all of my emotions, with my heart, with my honesty, with my stories that probably stimulate some people, but at least will make people think. And I can make a real big impact on other people's lives. This is what is in for me, that I see a direct, again, that is again the word, a direct ripple effect. Mm-hmm. Serving not for the sake of feeling more powerful or feeling special or feeling, you know what I mean, not for this kind of reasons of making yourself feel better, but really making a difference and helping people and getting this back in terms of that you can see it really helps people.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the conversation in my head around that at the moment is the balance between serving, so receiving and taking, serving and giving.
Okay.
there is a, so as you know, my background is the entertainment world, and so from my professional lineage, there's a lot of uh, me. I put myself out because that's what it's about. So the serving is, in my worldview, more on the giving end. I'm serving to something else, and so my question is always, so okay, so what about you? Are you still, are you served? Who's serving you? And so you just spoke to that. What you get out of that is the satisfaction that you've made an impact. And I think what I'd just like to address is that balance, that even when we're in a giving position,
We always receive.
receiving. And
Yep.
also likewise, for those of us who sit more on the we like to receive more end, we're also givers at the same time, because if nobody's receiving, if nobody's being served, if nobody's being helped in that such deep way, then somebody who wants to serve can't serve. And you addressed that earlier with those leaders. They need to be willing to be led. So they need to be willing to be served. So yeah, that's an interesting and important conversation in my mind, because it's easy to think that wanting is bad, right? Wanting to be served or receiving is bad, and serving is a good thing. So in my head, there's often this conversation, oh, I should serve more. I should put myself down. And as I explained earlier, my service comes from waitressing, where status-wise, I'm down here and the customer is up here. So there is a connection of serving sometimes that comes in that is not as helpful and powerful as the one that you're making. So I want to just bring that into the conversation as well. One word, different connotations, and just the liberating the whole concept around it. It's completely helpful to serve. I think in the coaching profession, it's possibly the most powerful attitude we can have, to be of service to others and to be completely in ownership of the fact that there is something in it for me as well.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. I just want to come back to one point, because I find it quite interesting that even as a waitress, you saw yourself kind of being below. So, yeah, I don't think so. I think everybody who serves, and I mean it, everybody who serves is actually on the highest level of commitment.
Say more.
Regardless what he or she is doing, if he or she serves with full commitment, with all his or her dignity as well, you just have to think about the energy this person is giving to the world. Or, yeah, let's just say the word, let's make a big one, right? I think we are too much still kept in this kind of thinking about hierarchy. And if I'm not wrong, every position of power, the position of a king, the position of a queen, the position of a politician, of a chancellor, of whatever, isn't their position to serve? Yeah, don't get me wrong, but if I'm not, yeah, I think this is actually even written somewhere, that if you're kind of going into this kind of duty of being in that position, it's your responsibility to serve the people who are actually you are working for. And that's actually a reason why I really love the Queen, because she is a real perfect example of serving and of service. Is and always has been. And I find her incredible in the way she's kind of fulfilling her duty in serving really other people and her country. And I'm a little bit jealous because we don't have a queen, as you know, in Germany. And in Germany, it's a little bit more tricky, but at least we have got one politician in our country who really has the ability and the honesty and the character to serve as well. And it's the Bundespräsident in our country, which is quite interesting because this guy is completely out of any political job as well. So he's got the freedom, to be just a servant to the whole kind of, to the whole public, to the whole country again. So the question about master and servant and somebody who serves, is he really below and is there somebody above? I don't think so. I think that that's what is actually developed in a wrong way, because the guys who really were at the top in older times were the guys supposed to be the first servant of the country or of their people.
Wow. Whew. I think you and me could go on for hours.
We probably could.
Avoid is that people lose their jobs and they might have.
We have to cut it. We have to cut it. Make different parts. Actually,
we do that series 1 to 750.
Right.
But before we wrap up, I would love to, maybe in a more German bullet point format, elicit out of you the top tips for reinventing yourself. So we talked about earlier. So, I mean, obviously you've had quite a lot of reinventions actually.
Yes.
In your own personal and career life. I would love to know your top tips, what is it that helped you reinvent yourself? What needed to absolutely happen? So if somebody out there is in a position where they're like, you know what? I'm ready to start from scratch, phoenix from the ashes. I'm going to phoenix myself. I'm going to reinvent. I'm going to what do I need to do? What do I need to know? What are the 5 most important things? Go.
Okay, go. The first one, the most important thing is a vision. So, number 1, have a clear vision. Number 2 is, don't ever allow anybody to kind of destroy that vision, because you have loads of people who are going to tell you, you can't do that. You will never be able to do that, and it's completely stupid, crazy, whatever. Mm-hmm. Just stay true to your vision and don't listen to any outside chatter. Yeah, 1 and 2 together. Yeah. Number 3, have the discipline to follow your vision. Yeah, if I say vision, I really mean vision. I don't say dreams, because vision is stronger. You have a more kind of fixed perspective. You already know what it's about. And you have to, a vision is defined. A dream is always something you say, oh yeah, it would be nice. And don't use words like would be. So this is number 3. Be very disciplined, yeah? And be clear and be in the present. If you're going for your vision, be in the present. Don't fool around with should be, could be, all these kind of words, later, tomorrow, yeah, mañana. Don't do it. It's always in the present. I am, I do this. Yeah, whatever I do now moment. Very important. Number 4 is, all right, yeah, okay, you're doing the English way of counting. Yeah, you're doing the English way of counting, okay.
German.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
This is actually an important one when it comes to number 2, right? Because
exactly.
We easily do number 2, and that gets us in trouble every time.
Exactly, we know it, right? Now, good.
What have I done wrong? You.
Exactly. So we have to come back. Evelyne, we'll be losing time. Number 4. Yeah, let's be strict in German. Strict in German. Points. Now.
Discipline.
Number 4, understand that failure is part of your way. Ooh. So even if you already hit rock bottom, even if you're reinventing yourself, so you're already in your ashes, you're getting out of your ashes, but they're going to be setbacks. Yeah. Failure is on your way. Nobody's telling you that kind of stuff before.
So true. It's gonna get messy.
Yeah, it's going to get very messy. Yeah, excuse me, but yeah, it's okay. Say it. The shit is going to hit the fan.
Oh, and that gets messy.
That gets really messy. Yeah, Evelyne actually likes it messy. So if you want to talk about messy, Evelyne is the right person to talk about messy.
Yeah, but leave the shit in the fan at home. We just talk about it.
We just talk about it, right? So failure is on your way, is an option, and is real. Yep. And now number 5, to wrap it up. Celebrate your failures more than you celebrate your victories.
Ooh.
Both is very important. So celebrate every victory. And I repeat, every victory, go celebrate. But celebrate your failures even more, because the failures are the things that really give you character, give you the ability to kind of keep on going and to finally reach the goal you set yourself and to really make your vision come alive. It's all part of the learning process.
Love it. Thank you.
Never give up. Wrap it up, all 5. Never give up, and you're going to reach your vision.
How's that? 1, 2,
Right.
beautiful. Well done. And I just put you on the spot with that. And that was super succinct. Love it. Thank you so much. I feel like writing that out and printing it out and putting it above my desk.
You can actually purchase it. I've got actually different copies. Can you kind of put the link later in our interview? The link of my shop where you can purchase all the merchandise?
Yeah, of course. Are you serious right now?
Of course I'm not. This is German humor.
Like, I totally would do that. That's great.
Okay, no, I'm not.
That makes sense why it was so succinct. He actually has a whole PDF download on.
No, it's just my belief. It's my heartfelt. It's my heartfelt. It's so easy because my heartfelt belief.
Awesome. It came across. Thank you so much. Lars Friedrich, everyone, thank you so much for choosing to invest your very valuable and precious time with me and with us. I really appreciate it. And it was a great pleasure to talk to you. I hope we can do it again. For everyone who's been watching this, thank you for being with us, for getting your time invested in this, and for being engaged in this conversation in whatever way you have been engaged in the conversation. We hope this was more than useful, but super valuable to you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.